The James Show Podcast.
We're on Diddy Watch right now. The live cameras from a couple of networks are trained on the outside of the Diddy courthouse because they don't let cameras on the inside. Whoever's making all these chalk drawings on the grocery bags is probably furiously sketching out the situation as we speak. Don't ask me why all of the sketch artists have to draw on grocery bags. It doesn't make any sense. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know why they all chose the medium. Hey, what about notebook paper? What about typing paper? What about sketch paper? No, we're going to stick with these brown grocery bags, and we're going to use chalk. Really, chalk? You're not going to like do something in like Microsoft Paint? You can't do this in pencil. You can't do it in map colors. It has to be chalk on a grocery bag. Got it. So whenever they come out and make the announcement on some of these charges, well, this could be a monumental day that we'll all remember forever, or it could be just an eye roll. Well, another bad guy got away with doing a bunch of stuff that you and I couldn't get away with. But the charges he's facing right now: racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, transportation to engage in prostitution, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, transportation to engage in prostitution. Well, sounds like that's kind of open and shut because there was some prostitution that happened, and some of it happened across state lines. So, we'll as soon as it happens, we'll hit pause on the DVR. I'll stop what I'm doing. We'll go to that audio, and you can hear it just as soon as it happens. My favorite story of the day, though, is this Alligator Alcatraz. And Trump went down there this morning, and Alligator Alcatraz is something I didn't hear about until last week. The more I hear about it, the more I love it. If you're not familiar with the story, a new detention facility has been opened up in Florida. It's in the middle of the Everglades. I believe it's only accessible through a little airstrip. But in the picture that I saw, there was a road outside of it. Does that not go anywhere? Neither here nor there. It's in the middle of the Everglades, a good 60 miles or so outside of civilization. Swamp on all four sides. And that's considered to be such a deterrent to escape that they don't even have a fence around the prison. They just have the swamp. And I thought to myself, what a good place for a detention center. Sounds fantastic. Trump went and visited this morning. He seemed to like what he saw at Alligator Alcatraz.
It's the idea that if some illegal immigrants escape, they just get eaten by an alligator or a snake or something.
I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If snakes are fast, but alligators are big. We're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay?
Oh, this audio is just too bad. I hope you don't mind if I cut it off. But he was telling a funny story there about how to get away from an alligator. He says you're supposed to, instead of running a straight line, you're supposed to zigzag, and that helps your chances by 1%. So he was obviously telling a joke there. And then there's a bunch of fact checkers going on there, and that's a myth. What an idiot. You don't really zigzag run away from an alligator. Stupid. He was making a joke. People calm down. He was having a good time. Ron DeSantis has been having a good time. And I've been having a good time. And, I kind of like the idea a little bit just based on the merits of what Trump and DeSantis have said, what I've seen with my own eyes and the videos and the pictures and the stories. But I like it more and more and more when I see who's complaining against it. Not just who's complaining against it, but what are they saying? Are they making rational arguments against Alligator Alcatraz? Oh, no. Not at all.
I need somebody to tell me that I'd not just walk upstairs and see a clip on the news talking about Alligator Alcatraz, a prison camp that they're building in the Everglades in Florida to throw immigrants into. Truly, what the is happening when they're in the middle of construction of a prison camp in the Everglades to throw immigrants into, which by the looks of it, of what I saw on the screen, looked just like several rows of cargo shipping containers. They're building a ton of shipping containers that they're going to throw human beings into because they're immigrants. If that wasn't already horrifying enough to throw human beings into containers, Florida had to Florida and be like, you know what, I'll do you one better. Not only are we going to make this disgusting prison camp, but we're going to put it right in the Everglades next to all the gators and joyfully refer to it as Alligator Alcatraz. No, absolutely not. Just make it stop. Make it stop.
What is wrong with that? So the hyperbolic complaints about Alligator Alcatraz actually escalated over the weekend, and a new talking point emerged. Alligator Alcatraz isn't a illegal immigrant detention center. It's a concentration camp. Do you know that? It's Alligator Auschwitz is what they're calling it. So yeah, that's the new talking point. This is a concentration camp. Hey, you're concentrating people in these camps. Yeah, that's what every prison is. That's what your previous presidents have done. You think Joe Biden didn't keep some illegal immigrants in some sort of detention camp at some point where they called concentration camps then? Was it Auschwitz then? No, just when Trump does it. Here's another one, and luckily this girl doesn't cuss, but she's going on the concentration camp theme.
I will be in jail if I see somebody wearing an Alligator Alcatraz shirt or any type of merch. It is a concentration camp. And using that language matters. It is a concentration camp, and we're acting like it's an amusement park. It's disgusting.
So I guess the moral of the story is I need to get an Alligator Alcatraz shirt. That sounds pretty cool, too. That's a good idea. Thank you for posting that video. Angry person in her car trying to make some significant policy statements. I love the idea of Alligator Alcatraz. I think that's perfect. That's great. You don't have to worry about escapes. We have a place to send them to where they will be safe as long as they stay in their shipping container, if that's what the shipping containers are even for. Do you not care about the well-being of American citizens in prison? Like, have you not had a relative in prison? It's a pretty miserable experience. You know, there's still some prisons down here in the South, in Texas, that don't have air conditioning. You worried about them? No? Just about these ones you've been told to be concerned about? What a robot these people are. What an absolute thoughtless, brainless herd of sheep these people are. They act like, oh, well, we're just concerned about the well-being and the conditions of these prisoners in Alligator Alcatraz. Dude, there's prisoners all over America full of American citizens that have some pretty miserable conditions. You never cared about them? You know, it's the same way with the people going to El Salvador to go get this MS-13 gangbanger out, or going to Delaney Hall to the ICE detention center in New Jersey and assaulting an officer trying to make sure these guys have great living conditions, or the multiple trips to the Tacoma ICE facility. People, did you not care before Alligator Alcatraz about the poor conditions some of our prisoners, or do you only care about the non-American prisoners? It's the damnedest thing. And the more they complain about it, the more I like it. The more they call it a concentration camp, the more I know we're doing the right thing. The legal analyst of the James Show, at least informally speaking, is the great Jeremy Rosenthal from TexasDefenseFirm.com. Welcome back, Jeremy Rosenthal. We had a bunch of questions from yesterday's show left over for you. Can I start with the Carmelo Anthony situation?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure this out. Head scratcher. Me as a layman, didn't go to law school. He filed for indigent status last week and was awarded indigent status, meaning he gets a public defender. Now, how does that work out, that a guy with a $500,000 defense fund is found that he is allowed to get a defense at a taxpayer expense?
When you underwrite somebody for the purposes of indigency, you underwrite the individual, not all of the money that they might potentially have access to. So, for instance, if somebody has rich parents, you don't include that in the equation. A lot of times, folks will come in and they will have, for instance, their family, their extended family may have resources, but this person may or may not be alienated from the family. So you underwrite the individual. That's just the statute. That's the law. And probably what they're seeking are probably some experts. There's a Supreme Court case called Akey versus Oklahoma, AKE. It's a very famous indigent defense case. Essentially, you get the right to counsel, you get the right to experts, and in Collin County, there's no public defender's office, so the resources are provided sort of on a case-by-case basis if you apply for them, and the calculations go to the individual, not to potential finances that they have access to. Unlike a bond situation where you would underwrite the entirety of everything.
Well, I was expecting a Gideon case reference there. Jeremy Rosenthal.
Gideon versus Wainwright. Man, James, good for you. But yes, that's the case that talks about your right to counsel. See, you get it, man. You're I don't know why you're a radio host. You need to be, maybe I should be the radio host. You should come defend people.
Well, I think the big draw of being a radio host on a lawyer is we don't make nearly as much money. So I think that's why I chose this profession over yours. But that seems to be kind of a big loophole there. You don't consider the fact that he has a $500,000 defense fund. Okay, I don't guess we're going to fix that on today's show. The other side of that is who was the head of the question yesterday? You know what? I took a note and I said I would ask Jeremy Rosenthal tomorrow. This is Jessica from Lone Oak. See, I'm not lying. She said, okay, if Carmelo is going the public defender route, could he be setting up a situation where he still gets the lawyer he wants? It's just going to be a pro bono case.
I'd be surprised if this is anything other than for the purposes of an expert. You can have a privately retained counsel that the family hires, but then you apply for court-appointed funds. But the money that a public defender would make or somebody on the court-appointed wheel would make is going to be far less than what you would make in the private market. So that would be pretty surprising. And so the money that lawyer would make would be a lot less. Now, there are a lot of really good lawyers that take court appointments in Collin County and Denton County, all throughout the Metroplex. And you do have to have a minimum set of qualifications. So you can actually get a really good lawyer on the court appointed wheel. Now, like any other circumstances, I hate being a defense lawyer. I hate some of the negative stereotypes about court appointed lawyers. If anybody out there has ever dealt with a court-appointed lawyer, then certainly ask the hard questions. How many cases do you try? What are your qualifications? And if you don't get satisfactory answers, then that's something to be concerned about.
Well, the sort of non-legal aspect to this situation is a lot of us are questioning, how is the mom allowing this to happen? How is the mom not taking every dime that she's getting from the public defense fund and not saying, we're going to go out there, we're going to get you Johnny Cochran, we're going to get you the Kardashian dad, we're going to get you the best legal defense team money can buy because we got $500,000. It just seems like we're missing a piece that she say, no, just go get the public defender and I'll keep this $500,000 over here.
Yeah, again, I would say that probably, and you know what? Let's do this. I don't know if I can go and click over. Let me look. I'm going to look at the pleadings right now, James, and I'll tell you right now what I think is going on.
Well, that's cool.
Okay.
So you're looking at the court paperwork right now.
Yeah, if I can, if this will participate. It only freezes on Monday morning, and if I've got like $1 million billion client in the office, then it'll act up. Okay, so yes, letter of representation, first appearance. I don't see. So Mike Howard's a retained attorney, and Toby Shook is helping Mike Howard. Toby Shook is a former Dallas County prosecutor. He's got a big reputation. I think he defended Amber Geiger. So he's got some stick on his team right now, and I would think, and I'm not seeing any applications for indigency. Okay, no, I see it. There you go. It's that one's not public because probably it's got personal financial data. I would almost be certain that they're trying to get some expert witnesses or investigators through the indigency thing. I think every nickel is getting spent on his defense. I have no reason to think otherwise. And I would be fairly certain that this indigency is a move towards some experts, and those experts want to guarantee to be paid and all that stuff. So I would say that that's probably it.
All right, we're talking with Jeremy Rosenthal. He's a legal analyst on the James Show from TexasDefenseFirm.com. We are awaiting the results of the Diddy trial. And of all the spaghetti noodles that were thrown at the wall, it looks like only 5 have stuck. And we're waiting on the returns, or at least that's what the reporting says, that we're waiting on the return of 5 charges, 5 counts against Diddy. 1 for racketeering conspiracy, and then 2 for sex trafficking by force, and 2 for transportation to engage in prostitution. And from what I've heard, that's the transportation to engage in prostitution and sex trafficking by force kind of locked down.
Okay, so right as I was logging on with you, I got a notification they've reached a verdict in 4 of the 5 cases. The one case where they have not yet reached a verdict is the racketeering case, and the judge has reissued them the elements of that one, and they're working on what's called an Allen charge, also called a dynamite charge. That's a charge that says, hey, guys, everybody needs to get along here, and we're not telling anybody to violate their conscience, but this is a really expensive trial, and if we could get a verdict here, that would be really much appreciated. But we have a verdict on 4 out of the 5, and if they hang on the other one, it's going to depend. If it's 4 not guilties and then the other one's a hang, then you would think that we're going to get another trial in the last one. If it's 4 guilty verdicts, then the government may not care about that last one, and then we go into sentencing. So it's going to depend on what happens with those other ones.
All right. I think I got the gist of that. Jeremy Rosenthal, TexasDefenseFirm.com. I appreciate your lawyer brain on the show again.
Thanks, James.
Have you heard of National History Day? Have you heard of the National History Day contest? No? Well, why is that? It's a national contest. Kind of a big deal in some people's eyes. But why are you just now hearing about this on my show? Well, you know what? To sort of prime the pump here, let's go to this cool report from WFAA TV yesterday, where a local student here in North Texas won the National History Day contest.
Oh, yeah, that's a very big deal.
For at least a decade, the students at Grapevine Colleyville ISD have been on the wrong side of history.
Oh, this is a group.
History teacher Chad Hannon says no one from the district has ever qualified for the National History Day contest, one of the most prestigious history contests in America.
No student has ever made it.
And when he explained that to this year's class, one student made a bold prediction.
I went in my mom's ear and said, Mom, I'm going to win. I'm going to go to nationals and win.
Cassidy McCarthy, a soon-to-be 8th grader at Grapevine Colleyville's virtual school, iUniversity Prep, had never even heard of the contest when she started researching the West Virginia mine wars.
Yes.
For her project, Cassidy built a website detailing how 100 years ago, mine workers went to war, literal war, with mine operators fighting for fair pay and safe working conditions.
They finally got all their rights.
She combed through archives, interviewed descendants, and compiled sources.
I wrote a master's thesis, and that's a master's thesis. How can a 7th grader do that kind of work, you know?
Judges at the state competition were equally impressed.
I was blown away. I'd never heard of this before.
The top 2 from state advance, and Cassidy got second.
I don't know why yellow, but...
Exciting, but also humbling.
Getting second at state, did you still believe you'd win nationals?
I went into nationals saying, I'm going to try to get 4th.
After state, Cassidy took the judges' critiques, made improvements, and hoped for the best.
Happy History Day, everybody!
But at nationals, the announcement came, and Cassidy didn't win 4th place.
Coming in first,
She won
Cassidy McCarthy. Oh my God!
the whole thing.
And she's like, should we run to the stage? And I was like, yeah, we should run to the stage. Let's go.
The first student from the district to not only reach the national competition, but win.
All right.
An historic achievement, but just a precursor to what she's planning next.
This morning I looked up how many times a person has won in a row, and she won 3 years in a row, so I want to try to win 4 years in a row.
If history is any indication, her future is bright.
If there's anybody that can do it, it's Cassidy.
All right, so what a beautiful story there from WFAA TV. Wow, heartwarming stuff. So glad to hear it. The next question is, why do academics get so little attention in our education system? And I know you've had this conversation in some form or fashion, but I'm going to try and come at you with a new angle, because I don't want you to just hear this and go on about your life after the show and just do the status quo here. Because, look, here's how it usually confronts you, this topic is, why do we pay so much attention to the football? It's not even important. We could do all this money that go to other programs. We spend all this money on football. It's not even important. Okay, usually it's a gripe about football. And football for sure. That is the one thing we celebrate the most as a community, as a whole, as a society, as a people group. The one thing that you're expected to and probably do attend the most when it comes to the educational system is football games. And sometimes it's for the players, sometimes it's for the kids in the band or the cheerleaders or whatever the factor is. But none of it's academic. There's nothing academic about playing football or being one of the cheerleaders or really marching around with the trumpet in your hand in a square. Fun, great skills to learn, not trying to throw shade on it. But in the point of, our education system, academics at some point. And it's not just football, though. This is why I'm trying to broaden it out. I don't want this to make this a complaint about football or even sports, because other sports get support with fans in the stands. They get fundraisers. There's athletic boosters, concession stand. They sell T-shirts and hats and merch, It'll say Bug Tussle Football or Bug Tussle Playoffs 2025. Well, not Bug Tussle, but real schools with good football teams. So there's even news coverage. You'll see highlights in the news. Think about, I just played you a report on WFAA about an academic achievement. Think about how rare that is compared to football coverage in the news. What is it like for every minute of academic achievement that is praised in media? You get like 1,000 minutes of football. That add up all the sports. And then it comes down to like even some of the lesser celebrated programs that do get outside community support. Like think about theater. They get a little attention. They get attendance. It's not like a football game, but they get some attendance. They sell tickets, some merch. They have fundraisers for these guys. Maybe sometimes they'll be in the news like, hey, some high school put on a play, or maybe someone went and danced in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, something to that effect. But think of how little compared to all of these other non-academic things that get our attention in school. Think of how little attention we as a society pay to actual academics in the education system. That is messed up. I have to explain to people that I was in academic decathlon in high school here in Texas. To people who actually went to high school in Texas, oh, we have academic decathlon. You didn't know that? Now, we don't have it at all the schools, but all the bigger schools and medium-sized schools and large schools, most of them have an academic decathlon team. Most of the people at my school didn't even know it existed. That's how little attention it got. That's messed up. If we go through school and we start cutting out what's most important, and by most important, I don't mean the one that's most celebrated or has the biggest ticket sales, the ones that are, kind of fulfilling the mission statement of what should be any education system is, education. We would cut football first. We would cut theater. We would cut the music programs and all the arts and stuff. And the last thing we should cut is academics. The most important thing is academics. The thing we should be focusing on the most is the thing we're focusing on the least. And I think WFAA did a great job giving this girl some attention for achieving something with her brain, not her body, not her art, but her brain. This is super important because other kids out there, they see this and they're like, well, hey, if I would like to get some positive feedback from society at large, the adults around me, namely my parents, maybe I should do more with my brain. We need to, don't just say this. You can still go to football games. You can still go to your kids' theater plays. But can we do this too? Can you celebrate academics too? At least in your own house with your kids or grandkids? Make sure they know that's a big deal. Ask them if they're in it. If they're in it, ask them to give you details about it. How'd you do in your last UIL competition? How'd you do in your National History Day contest? How'd you do at Academic Decathlon? I know I'm not going to fix it today, but a local student won a national history contest. I think that's great that we give it as much attention as possible. And really, when we talk about what can we do to make education better in America, here's one thing. We can give positive reinforcement to education. I know, it's a controversial take. I know, I like sports too. It's hard to break ourselves of the habit, but we can at least try to do better. How do we make academics more sexy? How do we make it to where we pay more attention to them? Well, part of the problem that academics has is it doesn't package itself and present itself well for an audience. So part of my criticism isn't just for, the community. We're dumb. We only like dumb things like people smashing together to play football or win a sport. No, part of it, the academics have to take the blame themselves, because can you buy a ticket and be a spectator when it comes to taking the SAT? Absolutely not. Would you want to? Sounds pretty damn boring. So part of my solution isn't a challenge to the community at large. It's a challenge to the academics, the other eggheads out there that would like a little more attention, a little more praise, a little more positive reinforcement for actually pursuing the whole point of education, and that's learning. So what do we do about that? Well, there are some academically themed contests that seem to be somewhat effective. We need to incorporate them in schools. Have you seen the TV show BattleBots? I don't even remember what channel that used to come on, but my kids loved BattleBots, and I loved watching it with them. And what BattleBots is these teams get together and they make these little robots and they put them in like the arena with little obstacles and whatnot, and they have to destroy the opposition's robot. And so each robot has like a little weapon on it, whether it's a hammer or something that'll flip you over or a blowtorch or something to that effect. And that was a great way to highlight the prowess of a smart idea, of a good engineer, of a well-executed machine plan. BattleBots, can we do that in schools? Because that's something we would all watch. That's something the news would cover. That's something that would possibly sell some tickets or get some merch or get some attention. It would make academics look cool. Code Launch. You ever heard of Code Launch? Friend of the show, Jason Taylor. He's a local guy who has, it's like Shark Tank. It's like a TV show Shark Tank, but it's for tech startups. And he's done it in a way where it's a contest where you submit your ideas in each region, and the winners from each region go into the final. And the final last year was over here at, I believe at, was that Gillies or something? That's a cool way to set it up. Sort of a Shark Tank-like competition where people pitch their ideas, and that's something people would watch. That's something that could be made into a TV show. That's something that the news could report on. Drone racing. That's kind of self-explanatory, where you make your own drone. You got to fly it through these hoops and race it against other people in a test of time. Rocket contest. Let's see which high school can make a rocket that goes the highest. You think we can make one that goes a mile high, 2 miles high? You think we can make one that reaches the ionosphere? Wouldn't that be cool to watch? Let's put a little GoPro camera on the end of it, see what happens. And I think the easiest one would be a quiz show setup. It could be a radio show. It could be a TV show. It could be an online streaming show. It could be a show that's put together by the media department of each high school. But it's Jeopardy. You know how easy it would be to make academics and, being smart look cool? If there's a contest where you and the other eggheads get your little beeper over there and you're asked questions, and then in front of everyone, you get to demonstrate your prowess as an academic. Not your prowess as an offensive lineman or your prowess as a power forward. Oh, look, he can do a backwards dunk. No. He knows his Byzantine emperors. I think that would look cool. Randy and Leonard, you're on WBAP. How do we make academics cool again?
James, academics is absolutely important, and that's the one thing you have to have in order to be able to run computers and do anything you need to do. You have to have the basic knowledge of all that stuff, but you're talking about making it cool to do that kind of stuff. You're leaving out one aspect of the academics that you need to think about, and
okay.
It's not sports and things like that. It's the vocational programs that we have, because not everybody's going to go to college and sell insurance. So you have to do something in high school to help them have a type of career when they leave high school that they can do something in, which would be, ag mechanics. My son and his daughter, his wife, do ag mechanics here in Leonard, and they build projects, and those projects go to these major shows and are judged by different companies like Preefert and people that build all different kinds of things. Robotics, they do robotics and stuff too.
Love that.
Different segments of, and all those kind of things are judged. And then we had one young man that designed a headgate, and Preefert, company that designs and builds cattle handling equipment, sold that for $100,000.
Yeah.
So, your vocational programs are so important now in high schools because of, everybody just can't make that way to college and have that money to get to college. But, you can go do, and I'm not putting anybody down or anything like that, but you can go to truck driving school, or you can go be an electrician, or you can go be a master plumber, and all those things make good money, and they're all productive parts of our society. So
agreed.
I think that, academics is absolutely the most important thing you need to do all those things. You can't pour concrete unless you know what pi or square are, so
yeah,
like
true.
You have to be able to read a tape measure and do those things and everything. And all those things are taught in our schools, but they're just not, they're not a type of deal that gets a lot of attention, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, you're right. And I think one of the keys to this is make something like a competition. We love competitions in Texas. Everything's a competition to us. I think we really need to change our mindset on some of this stuff, because these are the people who are going to be carrying society on their backs in 20, 40 years. The people that are going to make the innovation that drive our economy forward, the people that are going to make the innovations, the inventions, the changes, the advancements that's going to keep us ahead of the Japans and the China and the Germanys of the world. These are there's just a small, tiny percentage of elites that make almost all of the innovations in our society. The rest of us are just little worker bee consumers who are happy to benefit and ride their coattails. But I'll be damned if we don't encourage that. That's not going to keep happening on its own. If we keep encouraging kids, hey, you need to be really good at sports, you really need to be really good at football, or maybe you should be an actress or a YouTube influencer or one of these superfluous things, that's not going to be good for society in the long term. I like the idea of trying to make academics cool. I don't know if we can make academics cool again. Was it ever cool? But we can try and make it cool. Let's do it with contests. All right, thank you very much for hanging out on The James Show. I'm James Parker. Coming up next, the great one, Mark Levin. Don't forget about my little podcast when you're looking for a way to kill time. Remember, The James Show podcast lives on WBAP.com, WBAP app. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.